Something big could be brewing behind the scenes at Ibrox, and it might just shake up the Rangers' defensive plans for the season ahead. While everything on the surface seems relatively calm, the club is quietly working on a transfer deal that could force Russell Martin into making major adjustments to his backline. This isn't just any signing, it's shaping up to be one of those statements of intent that turns heads, both inside the dressing room and across the Scottish Premiership. It's early days, but this move is starting to gain serious traction, and if it goes through, it could mark a turning point for the Gers this season. But that's not the only action happening in Govan. Over the last 24 hours, the transfer front has taken some surprising turns, and it all started with a rather unexpected twist in the club's pursuit of a young goalkeeper. Rangers have reportedly had a bid knocked back for Sheffield Wednesday's up-and-coming shot stopper, Pierce Charles. Now, here's where things get interesting. Wednesday aren't exactly rolling in cash. On the contrary, they've been battling well-documented financial issues for months, so the rejection has raised more than a few eyebrows. Charles, just 20 years old, is already attracting attention from big names beyond Ibrox, with West Ham also said to have tabled a bid in excess of £1 million. And yet both offers were turned away, leaving many baffled as to why a championship side in financial strife would reject such a substantial offer. Staff and players at Wednesday have reportedly seen late wages in 4 of the last 5 months. Their controversial owner Dejphon Chansiri is under growing pressure from fans to sell, and yet he seems to be standing firm when it comes to keeping hold of one of the club's most promising assets. The young Northern Ireland international has been rising rapidly since breaking into the first team, showing maturity far beyond his age, and earning plaudits for his shot-stopping ability and cool head under pressure. With 2 years still left on his current deal, Wednesday might be playing hardball in hopes of driving up the price. Whether Rangers or West Ham are willing to come back with an improved bid remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, Russell Martin has his eyes on the future between the sticks. That's particularly intriguing given that Jack Butland has been a rocking goal since his arrival. He's come up with some massive saves, especially in high-pressure moments during Rangers Champions League qualifiers. His performances against Panathinaikos and Victoria Plizen have reminded everyone just how crucial a top-quality keeper is on the European stage. Still, the fact that the club is actively looking at another young goalkeeper suggests a longer-term strategy is in play, possibly even grooming a future number one. Meanwhile, back to that major defensive shift we mentioned earlier, Rangers are reportedly closing in on a significant sale that will see Brazilian left-back Jefte move to Palmeiras in a deal worth around £6 million. That's a remarkable return considering the club spent just $800,000 to bring him in from APOL last summer. Discussions between the clubs have been underway in recent days, and it now appears that all parties are on the verge of sealing the deal. From the moment Palmeiras made their first approach, it was clear they were serious. The Brazilian side moved quickly, with their domestic transfer window set to shut soon, and now they've got their man. The deal is said to include not only performance-related add-ons, but also a sell-on clause, which could make it even more lucrative down the line for Rangers. That's smart business, especially in a window where the club has been highly active, both in terms of arrivals and potential departures. Jefte featured in the Champions League clash against Victoria Plizen earlier this week, but that now looks likely to have been his final appearance in Rangers blue. His departure will leave Max Aarons as the only senior left-back option for Russell Martin, which means the club could be pushed back into the market to fill that gap quickly. Talks are already ongoing with Besiktas over Ridvan Yilmaz, and although nothing is finalized yet, the fact that discussions have begun shows that the club is wasting no time in finding a replacement. Yilmaz is a name that's been floated for a while now. Still only 23, he's already made a name for himself both in Turkey and in European competition. Reports suggest Rangers are not the only club interested, with other teams across Europe keeping a close eye on how things develop. But the president of Besiktas confirmed that preliminary talks have been held, meaning things are certainly progressing behind the scenes. With all this movement, you might expect a bit of uncertainty to creep into the dressing room, especially among players wondering about their future. But Russell Martin seems calm, confident, and very clear about the club's direction. Speaking Ahead of the second leg in the Czech Republic, he made it clear that there's no desperation to sell and that the focus is on building a squad capable of performing now and growing even stronger for the future. Unless an offer comes in that absolutely blows everyone away, club, player, and management, then the plan is to keep hold of their top talents. One player who's caught attention recently is midfielder Nico Raskin. Martin didn't give away much when asked directly about Raskin's situation, but he did use the opportunity to underline the club's stance. In his words, Rangers are not in a position where they have to sell anyone, nor do they want to lose key performers from last season. It's a message of stability during a window that's been anything but quiet. And while things have been slightly shaky in the league, 2 straight draws leaving Rangers 4 points behind Hearts and Celtic, it's Europe where the club has looked more like itself. The Champions League qualifiers have been a different story, with Rangers showing resilience and quality. After dispatching Panathinaikos with a 3-1 aggregate scoreline, they followed that up with a hard-fought win over Victoria Plzen, 4-2 on aggregate. Now, they're 90 minutes away from a huge showdown with Club Brugge, the Belgian champions who knocked out RB Salzburg in the previous round. This is where things start to get very real. A win over Club Brugge would mean entry into the Champions League group stage, with all the financial benefits that come with it. Celtic raked in nearly £38 million from their European run last season, and Rangers could well surpass that, thanks to a better UEFA coefficient. The prize money, the exposure, the level of competition, it's all there, and for a club looking to reassert itself both domestically and abroad, the importance cannot be overstated. European nights at Ibrox have always carried a special kind of magic, but this time the stakes are even higher. Rangers haven't just been building a team to get through a few qualifiers. They're aiming to get back among the elite and make a serious impact. With the backing of the club's new American-led ownership group, led by Andrew Kavanagh and 49ers Enterprises, the ambition is clear. They came in with purpose, and their investment has already started to reshape the squad. In significant ways, the list of new arrivals is long and impressive. Oscar Cortez, Oliver Antman, Theo Asgar, Emmanuel Fernandez, J.D. Gassama, Joe Rothwell, and Lyle Cameron have all signed permanent deals. On top of that, Mikey Moore, Nasa Jiga, and Max Aarons have come in on loan to bolster the depth even. Further, it's been a summer of action, and while some of those names are still finding their feet, others, like Gassama, have wasted no time making their presence felt. The young winger has already netted 4 times in the Champions League qualifiers, quickly becoming a fan favorite thanks to his raw pace and fearless approach. But with all these moves, the challenge now is consistency. Domestic form has not matched the ambition shown off the pitch, and Martin knows that needs to change. The league campaign has started with frustration, but there's a strong sense that once the squad settles and new signings gel, things will shift quickly. Still, the Champions League is a short-term focus, and Brugge represents a massive hurdle. Get past them, and Rangers are not just back at Europe's top table. They're potentially looking at a financial windfall that could change the entire trajectory of the club. Russell Martin's vision is becoming clearer with each passing week. He wants a squad that's hungry, dynamic, and fearless on the big stage. He's not afraid to let go of players if the deal is right and there's a plan to replace them. The club's approach this summer has been bold, calculated, and filled with intent. Whether it all pays off hinges heavily on what happens in those 2 legs against Club Brugge. What's certain is that Rangers are no longer thinking small. The days of playing it safe are gone. With fresh ownership, serious investment, and a manager who's not afraid to make big calls, the club is entering a new chapter. The question now is whether they can take that next step, not just in Europe, but in closing the gap domestically and reclaiming their place at the top of Scottish football. There's something different about this Rangers squad, something that goes beyond just the names on the back of the shirts or the balance sheet in the boardroom. It's a shift in mentality, a quiet but unmistakable hunger that's begun to grow inside Ibrox. Maybe it comes from the pain of last season, finishing a distant 17 points behind Celtic, watching their rivals lift silverware while Rangers were left to reflect on what could have been. Or maybe it's the influence of Russell Martin himself. A manager who speaks with conviction, who's not afraid to demand more and push his players out of their comfort zone. What's clear is that this isn't a rebuild for the sake of appearances. It's a calculated evolution. Martin has spoken often about identity, about style, about building a team that plays with bravery. But what's happening behind the scenes suggests there's more than just philosophy at play. The recruitment this summer has been relentless, deliberate, and wide-ranging. From young domestic prospects to experienced campaigners from abroad, the club is trying to shape a squad capable of handling the pressure on all fronts, domestically, in Europe, and in the eyes of a fan base that demands nothing less than glory. Take JD Gassama, for instance. At just 20 years old, he arrived with raw attributes and plenty of questions. Could he handle the weight of expectation? Could he adapt to the intensity of Scottish football? 4 goals in the early Champions League qualifiers have gone a long way in answering those doubts. He's not just fast, he's fearless. He runs at defenders, makes things happen, and injects a spark into the Rangers' attack that had been sorely missing last season. And what's most exciting is that he's only getting started. Gassama isn't alone. Oscar Cortez has already shown glimpses of real quality, while Oliver Antman looks like he could become a key figure in Martin's midfield plans. Theo Asgard brings something different too. Vision, control, and an ability to play in tight spaces, which becomes vital against packed Premiership defenses. Then there's Emmanuel Fernandez, another young addition who has the tools to develop into a long-term defensive asset. It's a blend of youth and potential that could, with time and patience, become the backbone of a new Rangers era. Still, no matter how promising the signings, results will always speak loudest. And on the domestic front, the start to the season hasn't exactly been the dream scenario. 2 draws from the opening matches have left the Gers chasing early. Hearts and Celtic have taken full points, piling on the pressure and igniting the same old questions from supporters and pundits alike. Can Rangers handle the league grind? Can they maintain intensity across a full season? Can they turn performances into points consistently? Not just on European nights, but in those cold away days to Livingston or Kilmarnock. Russell Martin knows the heat is always on at Ibrox. He doesn't have the luxury of time that managers in other leagues might get. Every match is a test, every press conference a trial. But there's a calmness about him, a sense that he knows what he's building, and he's not easily rattled. That's been reflected in his handling of the transfer window too. Where some managers might panic after a couple of poor results, Martin has stayed composed. The moves he's making aren't about short-term fixes, they're about laying the foundation for sustained success. The left-back situation is a prime example. With Jefte on the brink of a big-money move to Palmeiras, Martin and the recruitment team didn't scramble. Instead, they've calmly explored options, entering discussions with Besiktas over Ridvan. Yilmaz, the Turkish full-back, would bring European pedigree and positional intelligence to the role. Nothing is finalized yet, but it's another sign that the club is acting with purpose, not panic. And let's not forget the broader context. Rangers are now operating under a new ownership structure, and that's starting to influence how things are done. The American consortium, spearheaded by Andrew Kavanagh and 49ers Enterprises, took control in May and have wasted no time making their mark. This is not ownership for vanity's sake. This is business, ambition, and a clear desire to return Rangers to the top of Scottish and European football. The backing Martin has received already shows the trust placed in him to lead that charge. But with investment comes expectation, and nowhere is that more evident than in the Champions League. The tie with Club Brugge is more than just another European fixture. It's a gateway. The financial rewards for reaching the group stage are massive, potentially north of £40 million when all is said and done. For a club that has been rebuilding not only on the pitch, but off it too. That kind of injection could transform everything. Training facilities, scouting infrastructure, academy funding. It all flows from that golden ticket to Europe's top table. More than that, though, it's about pride. Rangers fans know what it means to walk out at Ibrox with the Champions League anthem ringing around the ground. They remember the famous nights, the scalps taken, the underdog victories that made headlines across the continent. This current squad has the chance to write their own chapter in that history. The win over Panathinaikos reminded everyone of what Rangers are capable of when the stakes are high. The victory over Victoria Pleasant was another step forward. Now, Brugge stands in the way, and the players know exactly what's at stake. These are the kind of moments that define seasons. Beat Brugge, and the narrative shifts completely. Suddenly, the early Premiership stumbles feel less significant. Suddenly, the talk turns from frustration to excitement. And for Russell Martin, it would be the ultimate early validation, not just of his tactics or his man management, but of his entire vision for the club. Because make no mistake, guiding Rangers into the Champions League proper would be a seismic achievement for any manager, let alone one still new to the role. What helps is that this squad seems to be buying in. The atmosphere inside the group, by all accounts, is strong. Players are fighting for places, pushing each other in training, and showing a willingness to adapt to new demands. Martin's training methods are said to be intense, structured, and detailed. Every player knows their role. Every drill has a purpose. That level of clarity can make a massive difference, especially in tight games where margins are razor thin. Even some of the older heads in the dressing room appear rejuvenated. Jack Butland, for example, has looked like a man reborn. His command of the box, his leadership, and his shot stopping have all been immense in the early part of the season. And while the club's pursuit of Piers Charles suggests they're planning for the future, there's no doubt that Butland remains the present. His experience could prove vital not just in Europe, but in helping to guide the younger players through the ups and downs of a long campaign. And then there's the question of the midfield. So often the battleground in both league and European matches. Nico Raskin remains a key figure, even as speculation occasionally swirls around his future. Martin was tight-lipped when asked about the Belgian, but his praise for last season's top performers suggests Raskin remains central to his plans. The midfield options have grown too, with Ant-Man and Rothwell both capable of playing deeper or more advanced roles depending on the opposition. That kind of versatility is invaluable as the fixture list starts to pile up. In truth, it feels like Rangers are on the verge of something, but exactly what that is remains to be seen. If the Brugge tie goes their way, it could light a fire. Under the whole campaign, the financial windfall, the prestige, the boost in player confidence, it all compounds. And from there, the domestic push could gain real momentum. Hearts and Celtic might be flying now, but things change quickly in football. One big result, one galvanizing moment, and the entire title race could be flipped on its head. What matters now is focus. The next few weeks are absolutely pivotal. The transfer window is still open, the European qualifiers are still ongoing, and the league is still wide open. It's a period that demands calm heads and bold decisions. Russell Martin knows this. His staff know this. And if the players know it too, if they rise to the occasion and seize the opportunity, then the sky's the limit. This is not just about catching Celtic. It's not just about lifting a trophy. It's about resetting the tone for what Rangers Football Club represents. In the modern era, proud, powerful, and unafraid to dream big. The pieces are starting to fall into place. Now it's about execution. One game, one result, one defining moment. That's all it takes to change everything. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The corridors of Ibrox have been filled with whispers louder than the chants on match day as speculation mounts over the future of Russell Martin in the Rangers dugout. After what many fans have dubbed yet another bitter setback, the rumor mill is in overdrive, churning out stories of discontent, boardroom unease, and supporters demanding immediate change. Sources close to the dressing room hint at a growing divide between the players and the manager, with some squad members allegedly frustrated by tactical rigidity and training ground routines that feel uninspired. In pubs from Govan to Glasgow, Green, conversations have turned from cautious optimism at Martin's appointment to outright calls for a clean break, suggesting the club might be better served with a more experienced hand at the helm. Social media has been relentless, with hashtags calling for his departure trending among the Rangers faithful, while former players and pundits drop cryptic comments that seem to fan the flames rather than calm the storm. While no official statement has been made, there's a sense that the club's hierarchy is feeling the pressure, weighing the cost of loyalty against the demands of a fan base that has grown accustomed to high standards and little patience for repeated disappointments. Behind the scenes, it is said that certain influential figures in the club's executive structure are debating whether Russell Martin's tenure has already reached the point of no return. A recent string of results, notably the limp performance in the most recent fixture, has added weight to the argument that the project has stalled. Rumors abound that contingency plans are already being drawn up, with names of potential successors circulating in hushed tones among insiders. Some say an interim manager could be appointed swiftly to steady the ship before the season's decisive fixtures, while others believe the board might gamble on waiting until the summer to enact a more comprehensive rebuild. The atmosphere at the training ground reportedly reflects the tension, with some players seen leaving earlier than usual and others engaging in intense discussions with backroom staff. Meanwhile, season ticket holders, who invest not just their money but their emotions into the club, have been vocal about their disappointment. They argue that the team's lack of urgency and passion on the pitch is a reflection of a deeper malaise that can only be addressed by decisive leadership changes. In this climate, even silence from the board feels like a statement in itself, and every day without clarity only fuels the uncertainty. The supporters' frustrations are not born solely from the latest defeat, but from a pattern they feel has been repeating since Martin took over. While his arrival was initially met with cautious hope, especially given his promise to bring an attractive, possession-based style of play, results have been inconsistent at best. Critics point out that the defensive organization remains suspect, the midfield often lacks bite, and the forward line seems starved of creativity in key moments. The result is a team that can dominate the ball yet still fail to control the outcome of matches. Stories from within the club suggest that Martin's insistence on sticking to his footballing principles, even when results demand pragmatism, has become a sticking point for both players and fans alike. Some seasoned supporters draw parallels to past managerial experiments that failed to deliver silverware, warning that the current trajectory feels worryingly familiar. In the footballing culture of Glasgow, where every point dropped is magnified by the relentless rivalry across the city, patience is a rare commodity. As calls for change grow louder, even those who once defended Martin's long-term vision are starting to wonder if the cost of waiting outweighs the benefits of stability. Adding fuel to the speculation is the apparent disconnect between the official messaging from the club and the mood on the terraces. While press releases continue to back Martin's leadership, insiders claim that private discussions tell a different story, with concerns about dressing room harmony and player motivation dominating internal reviews. Some supporters interpret this as a sign that the board is trying to buy time, either to negotiate an amicable departure or to identify the right replacement before making any announcement. Meanwhile, ex-players have been weighing in on television panels and radio shows, hinting that the current situation cannot be allowed to drift much longer without risking lasting damage to the team's prospects this season. Rumored targets for the managerial seat range from seasoned veterans of the Scottish Premiership to ambitious coaches from abroad, each name sparking debate among the fan base about the direction the club should take. The uncertainty is compounded by upcoming fixtures that could either alleviate the pressure with a winning streak or plunge the club deeper into crisis. In the absence of concrete news, the vacuum is filled with speculation, each rumor twisting and reshaping the narrative into something more dramatic than the last. What remains clear is that the Rangers faithful are not a passive audience to the unfolding drama. They are an active force shaping the conversation. Fan groups have reportedly been organizing meetings to discuss ways of amplifying their dissatisfaction, from coordinated chants at matches to visible protests outside the stadium. The emotional investment of these supporters passed down through generations means their tolerance for perceived mediocrity is vanishingly small. In their eyes, every season without silverware is not just a missed opportunity, but a step backwards in the club's proud history. The possibility of losing further ground to their fiercest rivals only adds urgency to their demands, as rumors swirl of high-profile figures willing to step in and rescue the campaign. The pressure on the board to act decisively grows by the day. Whether Russell Martin can survive this storm may depend on more than just the results of the next few games. It could hinge on his ability to reconnect with both the players and the supporters before the discontent hardens into outright revolt. For now, Ibrox stands at a crossroads, with his future direction balanced precariously on decisions yet to be made and whispers that grow louder with every passing match. Greetings, fans! Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.